Call to order our board meeting on September 22nd, 2025. Can we take roll call, please?
Ms. Atkins? Here. Mrs. McDaniel? Mrs. Peterson? Here. Mrs. Shuffle? Here. Mr. Sorensen? Here. Mr. Sturm?
Here.
Mr. Wright?
Here. Approval of the September 2020, approval of the September 22nd, 2025 agenda. Can I get a motion to approve, please?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Vote, please.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. Commendations, good news.
So I do have a little presentation, just a couple slides here. So we have, oh, it's coming. There we go. Just fake this out. Okay, so go ahead. So of course we had homecoming. So that was by and large resounding success again. So of course we do a lot of cool things here. People ask like, okay, what does Lewis Central do for homecoming? Because we don't necessarily have a main street. We don't have a parade, but we have a almost like a high school parade where we have the high schoolers go around to each building. They walk through the halls. The band will play a song. The cheerleaders do a dance or do a cheer. Dancers might do a dance. The football players go around from school to school. We take several buses to get them around, and it really is a lot of fun. I'll tell you, I got 3 little girls, and to one in each building from middle school, Titan Hill, and Crafton. And it's kind of fun because every one of them felt like homecoming was a big deal. Even my kindergartner was like excited to do all the dress-up days and excited. And she actually knew she was schooling me on the school fight song on Thursday night when I was driving around to activity. She's in the back seat just singing the school fight song, and I started singing along. She's like, "That's not right. That's not right." And I'm like, "So apparently I don't know it very well, but my 5-year-old does. So I gotta learn from her." So yeah, it was just a lot of fun. Culmination. We had 2 great things at the end. We won the football game, and that was a really exciting football game. And then we also had a very non-eventful dance. So that's almost more exciting than the eventful football game that we won. So anytime I text and I said, "So how was the dance?" It's always like a stare at it for a while and then finally send it like, "Okay, how was the dance?" And they text back, they're like, "No issues, quiet." And I'm like, yes, that's the way I like to hear it. So it's not always the case, but so yeah, so it was good. Go to the next one. So Asher is, again, I feel like every year, this isn't supposed to happen every year at schools, but for another year, we have another National Merit Scholarship semifinalist. So congratulations to Asher. What a great accomplishment, and for all of his teachers and even peers who have helped him get to this point. So pretty awesome. And then I want to give a shout out to the PTA. I know they do a lot. Booster Club does a lot. I mean, there's a lot of people that do a lot of extra work for our schools. One of the coolest things the PTA does is they make sure that every student in elementary, both at Crefton, Titan Hill, have something that's Lewis Central to wear. And so every year they go out and get donations, and like I said, these kids don't pay a dime for these. They're all donations, and we make sure that every student is given a Titan Nation shirt when you walk through the door. I think it's fantastic because we talk about, we're not necessarily a town, so it takes a little bit more effort to kind of get that feeling of that this is a home district, that this is, get that school pride up. And so one of the things we do is we make sure that every student that walks through our doors we know they're a Titan. Now they get to wear a shirt that says they're a Titan. So thank you very much to the PTA for doing that and making that happen every year. And it's funny because these kids will wear these shirts year round all the time. They put them on. My daughter's, I was lucky. I bought one when Raleigh last year before she even came here, and so she wears her gray one from last year all the time as well. So, so that's just a really nice thing that they do. So, on top of those things, we're kind of in the middle of fall activities. Tennis is wrapping up their season. They didn't have any individual state qualifiers, but they are going on Wednesday. They go to Waukee Northwest. They won their first round of districts over Thomas Jefferson. But then they'll go to Waukee Northwest on Wednesday to try to qualify as a team. Boys and girls cross country, I think we've won or been in the top 2 to 5 in every single meet. Evan Lilly and Kevin Coots have both won individual meets. Madeline Haas and Delana Reese have both this year taken turns breaking the school record. It's like You know, I think Delana broke it last year, and then Madeline broke it this year, and then Delana broke it again, and I think Madeline broke it again, so they kind of go back and forth. So they just happen to, it seems like every meet we run into the same couple girls that are state champions. So, but I think all 4 of them will have a great chance to qualify as individuals, and then we're really hoping we have conference next week. We're really hoping to win conference in both boys and girls. So that'll be an exciting way to leave the Hawkeye 10, is to win those championships. Swimming, we just had our first dual meet. We've had a couple big meets in which we've competed very well, but we just had our first dual meet and we did win that dual meet on September 18th. Football started off 2-2. Started off with losing to a couple ranked teams by 3 points in each game, and then turned around and won the last 2 games. And just Mr. Dermody asked me to remind everybody to just breathe a little bit, because both times that we won the state championship, we started off the year 4-4, so or 2-2. So it's okay. You can lose a couple in the middle or in the beginning and find yourself and continue to do really well. So season's not lost. We're doing very well. I'm excited to see us continue to roll. Volleyball, we are undefeated in conference, so hoping to win that as well and qualify for state. Golf, we are very young, but we are competitive. Remember, we kind of play a MRC schedule right now, because there's no Hawkeye 10 teams that play golf in the fall. So we play an MRC schedule right now, but we're not in the MRC, so we don't really have a conference golf tournament or anything like that to play in. But we do, in 2 weeks, we will go to Fort Dodge for districts. Again, we're just very young, but we got some really promising young players. Marching band, they had their first competition this last Saturday, which they took 3rd. That was at Millard West, and that is like the opening weekend for like every big marching band that's out there. And so the fact that we walked away with a 3rd place finish is pretty phenomenal right off the bat. And then both our fall play and our show choir, all of our activities, they're all just getting running. So off and running. It's going to be a busy fall. Already has been. So, but it's fun. So, anybody else have anything to add?
I guess I'd like to thank all the staff that did put in all the time and effort, you know, from maintenance of roping off the new grass to, you know, the transportation department, just being flexible on the fly, because things changed in the last 24 hours. Like to say thanks for the alumni that showed up to the tailgate. That was pretty cool to get started. Hopefully that continues on.
Yeah, we had some alumni get involved this year and help out and do quite a bit of work with that. They're doing some fundraising and just anything they can do to help make the experience better for everybody. So.
Absolutely.
Any other commendations? Good news?
Nope.
Okay. Then we'll move to comments and suggestions. This is the first section of our meeting that we open the floor to the public or the virtual public that may be watching the meeting to see if they have any comments and suggestions for the board to receive.
We've got a couple viewers.
Okay, we'll give it a minute. Okay. We will move on to the consent agenda. Do we have any updates?
Yes, there is an updated personnel sheet. A few ads on there.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Motion to approve.
Vote, please.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. Reports 6.01 Curriculum Instruction and Assessment Report.
Okay, so mine is going to be just a follow-up from, oops, I pulled the wrong one here, but a follow-up from our board priorities and then bringing that over to our DLT. Hope this is the right one. Just put September. Okay, so we started our DLT meeting, and this was just a week or so ago, but this is kind of how we started it, by just showing them kind of the flow. So we're taking our district vision and priorities down to the DLT, which will then trickle down to building leadership team. And then I really want people to see the whole system and how everything impacts everything instead of separate things. So then you can see here's our, there flows down to our teacher leadership system that supports the goals, which can tie into then our teacher goals. And all of this is anchored in things like our Danielson instructional framework. We've got a playbook that's come along, our curriculum, and all of that is to support student achievement. So we took the board priorities. So as you guys recall, there's a couple different umbrellas. The only one we didn't bring to the group was the umbrella that was the finance and facilities one. The other two was climate and culture and opportunities and access. And then as you guys recall, there were several categories within those. So we asked the group a couple different questions. We asked them which of these topics or metrics feels the most important for students right now. Where do you feel strong connections to work already underway? So that kind of kicked us off and got them talking to each other just to kind of ground themselves in some of the work and what's important to them. And then we went through a dot voting process where we put all of them, so there were 7 different categories total, put them up on the wall. Everybody had 4 votes, and so they could vote however they wanted, but they had to at least pick one thing under climate and culture and one thing under opportunity and access. They couldn't take all 4 for one category. This just kind of talks through that. So again, just asking them to pick 1 to 2 items. They could split up their dots as they saw fit. And it was really interesting. I wasn't sure where this would go. I mean, I kind of had a guess based on some work we were doing, but it was really clear. Here you can see the winners. It was overwhelmingly literacy under the opportunity and access umbrella, and then student behavior safety under the climate and culture. Here's how the votes shook out. You can see there for student behavior and safety, 36, the next closest was 4. And then literacy under opportunity and access, the next closest was 3. So that felt good that everybody was kind of on the same page for the most part. Somebody had said after the meeting, she said, you know, I don't know if we would have been this close several years ago, but I think we just laid enough of a foundation and we've been working towards some of these things that it was nice to kind of see, you know, so much of the focus on the same things. We did talk to them about the other things on the list. It doesn't mean that they're not important or that, you know, buildings still aren't tracking some of these things. It's just that DLT won't have the focus of keeping track and doing some of these things. So BLTs might still be keeping track or looking at some of these things, but DLT is just going to really zoom in and focus on those 2 things. So after that, then we took a look at like what are some things that we're already doing in the district and how can we make connections. So I had started a list, but then it was fun to see them add to the list and come up with all the other things that they feel like we're doing in the district that connects to those goals. So you can see there's a lot of good work underway, and I really wanted people to walk away and feel like just because we have identified these as priorities doesn't mean we are like changing everything we're doing. It's more of just we're streamlining some of the things that we're doing, where we're going to use some of these things when we come back next to help us create what our SMART goal is, and then look at like what are going to be some of our lead and lag measures based on some of the work that we do, and then see like are there any gaps? Do we need to do anything different or add anything that's not there? So here's where we're going next for DLT. Again, like I just said, we'll continue to connect these priorities again to things that we're already doing. There's lots of connections. So as you guys know, this is the first year where everybody's using the Danielson framework. there's one component within that framework called managing student behavior. So like how fitting to focus on that one this year because that connects to student behavior and safety. We will be determining as DLT, like what are our shared metrics? So what are we gonna look at for literacy and student behavior? What's DLT gonna monitor and look at progress? And you hope at the end of the day that you're constantly looking at these lead and lag measures, because if things aren't going in the direction that you want, then you know which ones to push, and which ones are going well. The next thing is, we really want those priorities to be the through line for professional learning. So, you know, there's different vehicles for professional development dollars or just different processes for thinking about professional learning. But we want these priorities to be things that we're constantly coming back through to think about how do we refine our supports, our plans to support these two big priorities for us. And then it's worked out really well because we already planned a book study for our district leadership team. And that book study is about leading professional learning communities. And like the very first chapter talks about going from the boardroom and the board selecting priorities to how does that trickle down to district leadership teams. So it'll be fun to read that and be able to put it in action at the same time. So that's the gist of the work that we did. It feels good to kind of be on the same page, and then again, next steps will be come up with some SMART goals and then help buildings figure out how to trickle that down and just keep doing some of the good work and making connections for people. Anything else you would add, Brent?
No, the only thing, just to reiterate with the board, one of the ways we're tackling strategic planning is by creating at least one major goal under each one of your guys' priority list. So again, even though those other items on there you guys mentioned, the things that you guys would be interested in seeing some data on aren't I mean, we'll still focus on those. We'll still collect data on those. But we have to have a direction when we move forward, like any company does. You have to be able to pick some solid goals that you can really focus on. And so that'll be, as we move forward, those will be the areas that we're going to focus on. So literacy and then student behaviors. Literacy is the foundation for all those other areas, academic areas, post-secondary areas, et cetera. And then on the third one, which is finance and facilities, that's where our district leadership team will, not the one that's more ERC focused, will come up with, you know, some one or two goals in relation to facilities and finance. So we'll come up with those. So we told the teachers they didn't have to focus on those. They're like, I don't even know what to put. I'm like, don't worry, we got those. So yeah, again, still focus on everything there is to do with school, but when it comes down to what are our priorities, and that helps us when we have to make funding decisions, when we have to make decisions regarding staffing or anything like that, to have some clear priorities, so that way we know what direction we need to go. Do you guys, based on your guys' recollection of how our strategic planning meetings went, would you agree with those two as kind of being kind of the headliners for what we're going to focus on? Okay.
I'm thankful that they align with each other, though. That is pretty outstanding.
I know, I was like, ooh, what is that
Yeah.
really?
You
Yeah.
have like a nice balance, it's not an imbalance, so
Yeah.
that's nice to see.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Hartman.
Okay, we'll move on to 6.02, finance report.
So this was also included in your board packets, but here is our expenditures through August of 2025 to our certified budget comparison. Obviously, still a very slow start in July and August. As with teacher salary contracts, the way they fall, we don't start paying those technically until September, according to our budget. So the numbers will start to grow drastically next month when you get your report, but so far everything is looking like it is falling into place on where it should be. So in September, or I guess just last Monday, we finalized our CAR, our special ed report, and our transportation report. So here are our key financial metrics for fiscal year ending FY '25. The goal that I have listed there is based on our board policy 701.5 R1. Our unspent authorized budget ratio, we have been increasing it, still working towards that goal of 10 to 15%. But we did have a pretty good increase. Once again, we went from 2.6 million to 3.6 million. So that percentage there is just shy of 8%. So a couple more years and we should be in that 10 to 15% goal. The unspent authorized budget net of our restricted fund categorical balances, you want that to be 0 to 5%. Obviously, we were very far off from that, but we are making some pretty drastic strides towards that. But obviously, with that, we want to continue to be very planful in how we spend our categorical balances. We don't want to hire a bunch of employees that once we have those categorical balances spent, that we then have to get rid of, and we just want to make sure that when we are spending those funds down, that they are things that we actually can continue with. The last one is our solvency ratio. We are just in that 24%, which we've kind of held steady, as you can see, over the last few years. But with that, we also don't want to go and do a lot of spending when we are also trying to increase our unspent authorized
And
budget.
explain to them what the solvency ratio is.
So the solvency ratio would be our total fund balance over our total revenues in the general fund only. So right now, our fund balance is just a little over 9 million, and our revenue is around 42 million, putting us right at that 24%. So that is where we just want to try to continue to keep that pretty stable until we're able to spend it down once we have the authority to spend it. In my opinion, our unspent balance increasing and getting up to that goal is more important at this point, and then we'll start to work on that solvency ratio. We aren't levying cash reserve, which we keep increasing this. We haven't levied cash reserve in those 5 years that are up there. So that is one thing that obviously the board hasn't done to continue to increase it, and just trying to spend it down as we can.
And again, this is all general fund expenditures. It's not facility money. It's not, it's just general fund expenditures. So, one of the things when Andrea got here and then when I came shortly after, just a reminder, they went from the district head, unspent authorized budget, that's how much the state allows you to spend every year. Like that's the carryover of what the state allows you to spend. You can have all the cash in the world. We could have $10 million sitting in the bank. And if we don't have the authority to spend it by the state, which the authority is given to us on a per pupil basis, then we can't spend it. And so we have to, it's almost like a credit card balance. Like you want to have a lot of equity out there. Like you want to be able to spend it because if something bad were to happen, you need the ability to be able to spend some money. And so when we came, there was only $167,000 that was sitting in that. And so to go from $167,000 to 3.6 million in a period of, I've only been here 6 years, is pretty phenomenal. So somebody asked me, somebody in this room asked me, and I won't say who, but asked me, what happens when we get there? Like what happens when we get to, 10 to 15%, which is for people listening, $5 to $5.5 million. What happens when we get there? Well, when we get there, then we'll strategically spend, okay? And when I say strategically spend, right now we are making do with a lot of things. Like we don't have, for instance, an SRO. We have a security officer. We don't have, you know, maybe we're a little short in the maintenance department, maybe you're a little short in, you know, we could, well, part of it's space too, you know, we don't have enough classrooms, so we can't expand teachers, and so, but once those things are fixed, and by the time we get to 5.5 million, we'll probably be in need of a new school at that time. And so I'm not gonna rush to go out and spend money, more or less because if we end up building a new school, we're gonna need some capital because our class sizes are gonna go down, which is what we want. We don't want 26, 27, 28 kids in a class. We want more like 22, 23 in a class. Well, just by having more teachers, that's gonna spend that extra money. So it's strategic. We're not gonna run off, but there is an end game, just so people understand. But right now, it's kind of like, if any of you guys ever subscribe to like Dave Ramsey, like we used to do Dave Ramsey, and Dave will state like, you need to get your savings to, you know, you need 3 months in the bank, which is essentially what 10 to 15% is. You need 3 months in the bank as fast as possible, you know, and that's what you need in case there's a rainy day and you need something happens. And so that's kind of what we've been focused on the last 4 years is we got to get that rainy day fund up. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble. Like the state comes through with a big cut, you know, we can't afford to lose teachers right now. We need to weather the storm, and so we're getting to a point where we're going to be able to weather. I feel much better now than I did when I first rolled in here and was told we had less than $500,000, and I said, oh, I left a district a third of the size that had, a fourth of the size that had $3.8 million. So I was like, we gotta do some work. And so Andrea's done a great job, and we're getting there. So it'll just take a little bit more time. So thank you, Andrea.
It's really quick, it's really encouraging to see the trend that we have right now, so.
Yeah, I remember when I first came on, you showed me that when I was at the training, and I was like, whoa.
Mhm.
But to see it 4 years ago, and then now, that's pretty wonderful.
Yeah.
And then last week, on Thursday, school board director election paperwork were due, so we have 7 candidates that are listed up there. Early voting starts on October 15th, and the election day is November 4th. And the polling hours will be from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And I believe, well, I guess it wouldn't be for our candidates yet, but
Well, they will.
when I was at the courthouse, they had everything set up, but it would be for early voting for that, but the early voting will start on October 15th.
Yep, and then I think the chamber is also planning on doing a forum of some sort. So if you are on that list, and you're interested in, we'll be on the lookout for an email.
October 22nd.
Is that the date, did they say? Okay,
Yeah.
October 22nd, so you can write that down. So,
And the reason why I remember that is it's my anniversary.
oh,
So-
perfect. Looks like you guys are gonna have a hot date at the old, I guess you don't have to. So, okay.
Okay, then we'll move on to, or I'm sorry, Andrea, were you done?
Yes, that's
Okay.
all I have.
We'll move on to 6.03, superintendent report.
Just got a variety of things. So this year, when we started the year, I just kind of want to reemphasize, you know, all the different safety measures that we took through this summer's work by putting on the safety vestibule at Kreft, all new cameras at Kreft, which actually they just helped us. We had a little bit of vandalism happen down there last week, and so that was awesome to be able to catch it with the new cameras. Some new door access systems. We're going to very soon have cameras in our parking lot, in our high school parking lot with license plate readers, so we're going to be able to kind of read who's coming and going. We're also going to, as we progress forward, the next steps for next summer will be to continue to replace. We got a good fair amount of cameras that just don't really, are kind of not great, like don't function. It's kind of like seeing through like a fog. We need to replace those cameras. You know, they go bad after 5, 6, 7 years. So replace those cameras, and then we'll also put in those door sensors, those door at every exterior door throughout the building. So that way, if a door is propped open during the time it's not supposed to be, etc., that we will be notified that that happens. We're also talking to the company about for some high-frequency doors or doors that are kind of hidden, making sure that they either have card readers for staff to be able to exit the doors, because even if a staff walks out during the same time, it's not, they need to be able to delineate between a staff member and a student, but then also an audible alarm, so we know when kids come through and leave the door. So that's one of the things we're looking at. Also Raptor. So Raptor is a emergency notification system. Sorry, my computer timed out here. That was not, there we go. It's a couple different things. One is an app. So on the app, you can go ahead and anybody that has the app can go ahead and initiate a response. You can do a lockdown, you can do a shelter in place, you can do an evacuate. There's different options you can do, and then it ties to strobes that are in every room throughout all of our buildings that then flash the color of the response that you're supposed to have. Okay. And then also we're tying in this week to, and it's all been in phases, we're tying this week into our screen capture. So if somebody sets off one of those, then every screen that's hooked up to our system will go through, and it'll just be blank, and it'll give you some response as well. And then along with it is a badge. So everybody has a badge that if you click it a few times, it does rodent response. If you click it more times, it does other responses. All the way to setting off a response that will then go straight to the emergency management and to our 911 dispatchers, and that'll tell them that we have a need for somebody up the buildings right away. So it's not even, gone are the days where, if I see something, I gotta go find a phone, or I gotta get to the office, and I gotta call, and then I gotta hope somebody's there that can make a phone call to get somebody to come up. Now I push a button a few times and bingo, like everybody is notified at once. And so we're kind of doing it slow. It's a slow phase in. They do it like a tapered phase in, because we've already had some false alarms, and so if it was already tied into the emergency management, they'd be driving cars up like crazy. So so want to make sure that people are used to it, understand it, and then we'll phase that in. So that's exciting. So we're getting there. Playground. So playground update, and I'm going to mix some of just general facilities with my update, and then I do have project advocates here, and they're going to talk more about where we currently sit with some of our in-process projects, and then kind of what next steps are. So playgrounds, the one at Kreft is supposed to be done on Wednesday now. So they had an issue. There's a part of the playground is a mound where kids can climb up on this mound, and then they just apparently like to climb hills and stuff, so it's a hill. So they tried to make the hill out of like a foam, and it didn't work. So now they're gonna make it out of a different material. So apparently though, by Wednesday it's gonna be done. I'm actually planning a semi-ribbon cutting on Thursday morning before, like right when school starts, to make sure that they finish it, because if I'm gonna have a ribbon cutting, it needs to be done. So if any of you guys can make it, we'll probably plan that for like 9 a.m. on Thursday. We gotta make sure kids get in and get settled, and then we'll do a 9 a.m. kind of ribbon cutting there. I was gonna wait to do Titan Hill and Kreft at the same time, but Titan Hill, they're probably not gonna be done until the end of October, because they're like doing a phase in where as soon as they're done with the turf at Kreft on Wednesday, they're going up to Titan Hill and doing the turf on the musical playground or the small playground. And then when that's done, then they move over to the turf field and the Gaga ball pits. And then when that's done, then they'll allow us to have all of our kids out on those two playgrounds, and then they'll move on to the big playground, and they'll shut that one down. So when the big playground's all done, then that's when we'll go back and have kind of a ribbon cutting up there. So kind of two different ribbon cuttings. But I don't want Kreft to wait until Titan Hill's done, and we're not going to wait for the ribbon cutting until Titan Hill's done either. So fireworks. I had a couple comments about spending money on fireworks at homecoming. Just first of all, those are all donated every year. We have a generous, he wants to remain not anonymous, but we have a generous community member and parent out there who donates the fireworks every time. He lights them off. He's got a license, so school is paying nothing for the fireworks. I do feed his guys a couple hamburgers and chips and waters from the Booster Club, but outside of that, the school does. We don't provide anything, but I do want to give a big kudos to them. They want to remain anonymous, but just thank you to them. And again, school doesn't pay a dime for it. It's all the community, and also we get permits for it, so everything is legal and on the up and up. So, Titan Hill Access Road. So that really is a blessing if everybody uses it correctly. We're still having issues out there. If anybody wants to listen. If you are one of those that comes in the lane and wants to stay in the right lane, we can go in the left lane. We can get in the middle lane, and you can drive all the way up. The other day, I was stuck on the road, and I'm like, why am I stuck on the road? And I happened to glance up, and it's because that right lane goes all the way down, which would be technically the middle lane now, goes all the way down to the entry, and then nobody else can get in. And the left lane was completely open all the way to the top. So there's about 40 more cars that can get on Titan Hill Lane if people would use the right lane and the left lane. And believe me, there's no difference in speed, because how they let people go up at the top, it's that zipper function where they'll let the right side go and go pick up, and then they'll stop the right side, and then they'll let the left side go. So if you think by staying in the right lane, you're going to be sneaking up there quicker, that's wrong. You'll probably get there quicker if you went to the left lane and went to the front. So please, people listening, the lane only works if both drives are utilized, okay? That's it. So please make sure that we're using both of those. Buses. So at the next board meeting, I hope to have some bus quotes for you guys. It's just hard getting bus quotes. I don't know why. They're pretty generic things. The price hasn't changed much from last time, but if you remember, they are pretty expensive purchases. So I'll bring two to you, one with AC and one without AC. So kind of phasing them in a little bit. So there is a difference of about $20-some thousand between air conditioning and non-air conditioning, but everybody really likes the two air conditioned buses we have in the summer, and they would love to have a third. So so looking at that.
Are they still 18 months out?
No, not as bad. More like 8. So
8? Oh, good.
yeah, that's why if we do it in October, there's a good chance that we'll get them for next school year. So. Certified enrollment date is October 1st, so I'll know at the next meeting kind of what we're sitting at attendance-wise. The new fields, so down in the new property that we bought, we're looking to put in just some practice fields down there, basically grass and dirt, in order to give the community and give our youth teams some more areas to practice, junior high team more areas to practice. And they just finally got approved, so we're gonna get going on those. Cell phones. This was another question that I had come up a couple times. Is people just ask, how's it going with the new cell phone policy? And so I actually was down with Mr. Vinchattel end of last week, and he goes, hey, I want to show you something, and he pulls up his spreadsheet, and he's got a spreadsheet of every infraction that has taken place so far this year. And when I say infraction, this means that, like, you had your phone out, and so now I'm going to take it from you and I'm going to send it down to the office because you had it, you're not supposed to have it out. So what we have them do is they put it this is just high school. We have them put it in a manila envelope, and then we send the envelope down, and then you can pick it up at the end of the day. To date, now, no, there's 1,000 kids that attend school there, 1,000 teenagers that attend school at that high school. There have only been 30-some individuals that have had infractions in the first 30 days of school. So that's really, really pretty good. And out of those 30-some infractions, there were only a handful that were more than one infraction, which meant that it got sent down more than once. And there were only, I think, 3 or 4 individuals who ended up with some sort of a suspension. And the reason they got a suspension was not due to a cell phone infraction, but remember, if you flat out refuse to turn it over, it now becomes insubordination, which then results in a suspension. So really, here we thought we were going to have this giant battle at the beginning of school year, and so far. I mean, I'll knock on this desk. It's been really good, and a lot of really good comments, both from our staff, like that are, excited that it's just taken away a ton of issues when it comes to cell phones, and students too. We'll talk to students and they'll say, it's really not bad. Like it's fine. Like I actually find out that I talk a lot more to my friends and my classmates now that I don't have it. They said it's gotten rid of a lot of the drama during school. Like you don't worry about it. One girl commented the fact that she had almost 90% of her battery left at the end of the day, which is very unusual. So really some positive things like that. And then finally, if you guys look around, and this is for everybody online too, you'll notice that there are some pictures missing in here, and that is because we are going to be replacing the pictures that are in here now. So when you look around, and then we have had some individuals whose kids were the ones that starred in these pictures and have asked for years and thankfully Anna has been around for years. And so when I told her we're going to replace these pictures, she said, oh my goodness. She goes, I have a list that she's been keeping on her desk of people that, for instance, there was one over here, the one of the graduate. And so the graduate's parents really wanted that picture, or graduate's mom really wanted it. So anyway, there's some pictures like that
Lorraine Jones.
that has had some sentimental value. And so I said, take it down and call her up, give it to her. And so again, I'll be having Emma take pictures of all of these, and we'll post them online. And if people want to just come up and get them, we're not asking any money. Like we just want them to go to a good home if somebody wants them. And so kind of first come, first serve. Okay, so Emma will be taking some pictures and putting them online, and then people can come up and pick them up, and then we'll get these replaced with some more current pictures. So that's it.
Any questions for Dr. Hazing? Comments? Okay, then we'll move on to 6.04, facility project updates.
Okay, I've asked Mr. Brett to come up here and kind of give us a brief update on where we currently sit with some of our projects that are yet in play.
Okay, well, we all know we made it through the summer pretty successfully with all the projects that we got done. We do still have 3 active projects going right now. The tennis courts at the high school, the surfacing for the play surface is going to be going down next week on that. The fence is fully installed, the slabs are poured. They're kind of doing some sidewalk work now, and so really that's pretty close to being complete. We just got to get the surfacing down, a little fine grading and some seeding, and put the nets up, and that project will be coming to a close. Also at the high school, the addition that's going on at the front, we ran into a little snag with the permit issue with the city. There was some confusion. The city changed their policies on reviewing plans. The architect submitted them in June when it went out for bid. And usually when you would submit them, it gets into the review process right away. Well, the city's changed some policies with some new software they're using where they want you to pay an upfront plan review fee to even start looking at them. We were not informed of that and went to pick the permit up 2 weeks ago and found out that they hadn't even started reviewing them because the review fee wasn't paid, which the architect wasn't told it needed to be paid. So, but the good news is the footings are dug. They're waiting to be poured until we get the permit, and there's only one person left to review it in the 6-person list of the city. So hoping to have that this week, and we'll get the footings poured. The structural steel is showing up the first week October. So here in 2 weeks or so, you should start seeing a building go vertical to tie into the existing structure. And just so everybody's clear, the plan with that project is through the end of this year, they're gonna essentially build the shell, the addition shell, do as much work as they can inside of that, but then they're gonna shut down and pull off the project until spring, and then they'll come back, start doing some work on the interior of the addition side in the spring, and then come summertime, we'll punch into the existing space and tie it all together. So that will sit for a few months kind of dormant. And then the third active project that's still going on is Titan Hill up here has the geothermal mechanical supplement going on. The boilers are installed in the room. The fluid cooler that will be outside, that is currently looking to ship out from the manufacturer on October 16th. And then, but they will be back, hopefully this week. They're gonna start doing some of the piping inside of the mechanical room just to have everything ready. And so that's progressing well. We're just kind of waiting on the main equipment. So that's the active projects that are still going on here. But we're already planning ahead for next year. We're in much better position than we were last year at this time. So as I go through these are kind of the major projects that will be happening next summer. Nothing's really changed from the list that we've always worked off of. But it's like the high school still has about 40,000 square foot of roof yet to be replaced on it. The architect's already getting started on those drawings, so we can get those out for bid. Hopefully, end of October, we've got that out for bid. The high school also had the drive lane we were hoping to add to it. That may push a little longer out. We're waiting on the city with their highway expansion project and the intersection changing, so we might not get that in for a couple years, to tell you the truth. But Brent came up with a great idea that we're currently getting some permit drawings drawn up for. We're gonna take the old tennis courts and convert that to a parking lot and tie it into the drive road that we just put in. We can get about 80 extra stalls in that spot. So that's getting worked on, so we can get that in for a permit approval.
Homecoming really showed that we can use that additional money. Even though it's only temporary until they decide what they want to do with Harry Langdon, it'll be,
Yeah.
eventually there'll be a drive lane, but for now, it's perfectly good asphalt for parking
Yep,
on.
might as well use it, so. The high school also received a LED lighting upgrade, similar to what was done at Creft and Titan Hill. I've already got some meetings set up with Voss Lighting, who's the supplier that did the other two projects. So we're starting to get pricing working on that. Titan Hill has a pretty good size, call it envelope renovation, which is mainly going through the entire exterior of the building and replacing all the existing kind of rotted out, rusted, hollow metal window and door frames. And that'll include some door security and stuff like that. And also it'll include, recaulking the building, some tuck pointing, just repairs that are needed on the outside of that building. The good thing about what we're gonna do, we're gonna put back mainly all aluminum entrances, which are much better thermally. The windows and stuff that are in there now are just hollow metal. They get cold, they sweat. So, you'll be getting a much better system through that building. That is looking to be done with the design drawings mid to late October, so that'll be going out to bid hopefully by the end of October. Middle school paving and utilities project, that's a pretty big one. It's also in design already, and that includes pretty much any hard surface you see around the middle school. Sidewalks, patios, entryways, like we're gonna get all of it. They're, up here we did a couple little extras because, we kind of had to draw the line somewhere, but that job, we've decided to, every bit of concrete, asphalt, whatever's there, getting replaced. Included in that will be, some storm utility work, some other things like that. Now, Bubba, I know you're waiting to ask. We have started some more research on the sanitary system. We did a smoke test last Wednesday on it, and we found 4 major items down on the lower portion of it. Some of the manholes by the bus barn were just leaking smoke out of the sides and the curbs and grass, and then we found a open pothole line in the courtyard of the middle school. So we found 4 major intrusion points for water getting into the sanitary. So that was just the first step of the inspection work. Now we're gonna go through, do a good cleaning on all of them, inspect manholes visually, do camera work, isolated in spots we know are bad where we're looking for things. So we've got the ball rolling on that and starting to find some good stuff. Not good stuff, but we're finding what we're looking for. And then kind of the last major project, which a lot of you know about, is the middle school renovation, which we've had 4 meetings now, I believe, with the architect team, and I think we've got the scope narrowed down really good to what the project's gonna consist of, and I think we're gonna have one final meeting just to kind of get a final yes or no, this is the route we're going, and they're gonna really dive into the design work, so. So, you know, we're in a lot better position than last year. The majority of all these projects should be out for bid by the end of this year, which will help us get good pricing as people try to load up work for next summer. So we're really ahead of the game on things, I think.
Good.
Any other questions?
On the city permitting thing, when did they change their policy?
In April. They got some new software that allows you to electronically submit plans to them. It allows them to distribute it to all the different departments and, you know, who's approved it, who hasn't. And when they, apparently in April, because I called them to ask what was going on, I've been doing work in town for years and years, and this has never been a thing. It wasn't a thing on any of the permits we pulled this summer. But yeah, apparently in April, they enacted the prepayment for the plan review, and there wasn't really any notification about it, or, so just kind of a communication breach, I would say.
That was gonna be my next question, was there any notification?
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
thanks.
yep. All right, thank you.
That's it. You guys have any questions about facilities or anything like that? Just roll.
I'm just glad that they, you know, may not have found good stuff, but it's somewhere to
We found something.
start.
That's
You know,
more
I
than what
mean, we've been shooting in the dark. So at least we're aiming in the right direction, I think.
There was so much smoke coming into the school that we actually had to send staff home just a little bit early. The kids were gone, but it was a deal.
We did it on Wednesday when kids left, and there was the risk of if you have floor drains or dry traps in a sink or anything in a building, we were blowing smoke in the pipes. Well, if the interior plumbing has issues, smoke will get into the building. We found some issues in the building.
Which is good. I mean,
Yeah.
We learned
Yeah.
more.
yeah, yeah. Let's get them all. I mean, if we're gonna fix them, let's fix them all.
Yeah.
So,
Any other questions, comments? Okay, we'll move on to 7.01, SWIAC Apex Consortium Agreement.
so this is just for us to participate and potentially send students down to Apex, down to Glenwood. We just need to be a part of the consortium. We don't pay anything. It's just like Children's Square or Heartland Therapeutic. We don't pay anything unless we have a student attend down there. So,
Any questions, comments? Okay, we'll move to 7.02, Board Policy Series 300, Administration, second reading.
again, nothing's changed since the last meeting. So everything was pulled directly from IASB. That was it. There were no major changes. The only major change was on the one policy that had kind of organizational structure. That was it. And it's just because some of our positions have changed a little bit.
Okay, any discussion? All right, then we'll move on to 7.03, 2026 Summer High School HVAC Mechanical Controls.
So this is the control portion of what we're gonna do next summer, optimized. We'll do the following work. So one, I don't know, maybe you can explain this. I don't know what the AHU is and the RTUs.
Well, I guess I didn't really touch on that. A project that's also being designed right now, the high school, we're gonna do another round of mechanical upgrades there next summer. It includes replacing air handler one, which is the main one above the interior concession stand. It feeds like the entire, from the offices, the cafeteria, down the activities wing hallway, the band rooms. It feeds all that commons area. We're gonna replace that unit. We're also gonna replace the 4 remaining units on top of the small gym needs to get replaced, the wrestling room and the 2 locker rooms. And those will come off of the chiller loop, similar to what we did with the weight room and the large gym, helping the chiller perform even better. But then part of that package is gonna be all the VAV boxes, which control the air temperatures per room, or area being fed off of air handler one. Their controls are obsolete, dead, frozen on the boxes. So all those rooms are stuck wherever they are when the controller died. They can't be adjusted or operated. So we're gonna, the box is still good, but you can't control it. So part of this package will include replacing the controllers on every single one of those units, so that they can regain control of it and get the rooms to temperature and everything. So the Optimized Systems proposal is not to replace them, but they're doing all the integration, the commissioning, making sure everything is working correctly, talking to the building's control system. So they're just there to integrate everything. They have been a huge help throughout the last year with just all the systems we've been going through. They're usually my number one phone call for troubleshooting and issues, and so a great asset to the team of getting everything done.
Would this be bond work or would it be under Pepple Save?
No, this is all bond work.
Okay.
So,
So the,
the motion's wrong. I was on my way to a funeral when I was wrapping this up, so.
but it would be for optimized systems for the 60,370.
That is correct, yep.
Any other discussion?
And when will this be? Next year?
The work will be summer 26th.
Okay.
So next summer.
But they get involved early on with the design team, make sure the control drawings are correct and everything's built the way it needs to be. Or designed the way it needs to be.
So instead of lumping all of these controls into the actual purchase of the equipment, we have our own company where they do it separately with Optimize. It's all in the same system. So you're either gonna pay for it through these guys, or gonna pay for it through the HVAC bids that come in. So
But this is open-ended,
this is open-ended, correct? Yeah,
so we're not tied to
right.
anybody in the future.
Yep.
Okay, we'll move on to 7.04, middle school renovation construction delivery method.
So I asked Project Advocates to come and present on this a little bit. You guys have a little bit of a definition in the packet. And so just kind of letting them kind of talk you guys through it a little bit.
Hi, good evening. I wanted to walk through the three options we're considering for the middle school. At the last middle school design meeting, we started having the conversation, and sometimes it gets really confusing when you when you don't work in this every day. So I wanted to show you the differences between the three options that are being considered. The first one is lump sum design bid build. So this is a hard bid project, and this is how we handled the roofs and the mechanical, a lot of the early projects here, the parking lot replacement. And what I showed was the organizational chart, and then the lines are all the contractual relationships. So in a lump sum design bid build, Lewis Central has a contract with us as your advisor. And then you have a contract with the architect, and then after the bids, you'll have a contract with the general contractor, who then has a lot of contracts with subcontractors. And then there's other miscellaneous vendors that have to be coordinated, like the security systems are usually directly purchased by the school district. And so that's the structure there. The construction manager at risk, you'll notice it's the exact same structure. So you have the same contractual relationships as a lump sum design bid build. You have one contract with the construction manager at risk, and then they have all the subcontracts under their contract through you. The construction manager as agent, what happens in that scenario is the construction manager now has a direct contract with Lewis Central as an agent. And then Lewis Central would hold, the biggest change is now Lewis Central would hold all the individual subcontracts with those subcontractors. So you'd have a lot more contracts that you're holding. that construction manager is now an agent and doesn't have any financial risk in the project. You're basically paying them for their expertise in managing the project from a site supervision and project management side. So that's just a layout of the three options and how the contracts work. The next slide, I put together a comparison table where we have factors on the left, far left side, and then the other three columns are the three options, lump sum, CMR, and CMA. So we call construction manager at risk CMR, and construction manager as agent CMA. And so the first line, the contract structure, I just walked through and how the differences there. So then we'll talk about risk allocation. And when I say risk, that's the financial risk of a project. So at some point, and when you pay a contractor, you're paying the contractor, one, to provide supervision, to provide people to run the project. And then the next thing you're paying the contractor to do is to take risk. That now the risk of the project going over budget isn't on you, it's on them. That they're saying they're gonna get it done for a fixed amount. And so that risk is transferred. And so they earn a fee for that because they're taking on risk. So in a lump sum project, the highest risk is with the contractor. As a construction manager at risk contract, there is more risk assumed by the construction manager at risk. They are setting a guaranteed maximum price for the project. Now, why I say more but not high is that when they set a guaranteed maximum price, they typically put in some contingencies to cover unknowns, where in a hard bid, they may have contingencies, they may not, but you don't really care because they're signing up for one number. When a CMR sets a GMP, they're gonna want a contingency in that to cover some of their risk. And the construction manager as agent approach, the risk allocation now is shifted to the high risk to the owner, because now you, Lewis Central, would hold all the subcontracts. So if there are any cost issues with the subcontracts, the construction manager doesn't have any risk for that. It's all borne by Lewis Central, which is similar to when we bid out the parking lot. The school district was at risk if there were any big overages or anything that came up that was unforeseen. That was on Lewis Central. So the next factor is owner control over the project. With lump sum, the owner has a lot of control and say during the design period. But then once construction starts and once the contractor starts their work, you're essentially handing over the control and the risk that goes with the risk. With construction manager at risk, again, it's high during design, and you would still have some control, but still not as much because that construction manager is taking risk, and so they're going to have more control of how the project is run. And then construction manager agent, as an owner, you have high control during design and construction because now you're holding those contracts, so you can direct the people to do whatever you want, so you have high control. The timing of services, so when you would start this relationship with the management company, the construction firm, as a general contractor, that starts when you accept the low bid. As soon as you take the low bid and you contract with them, that's when their services would start. With a construction manager at risk, that firm is engaged during design development or during the design process, and they'll provide input during the finalization of the design. So with the middle school, they would start as soon as we would go through a process to hire somebody, and then they would work with the architect, work with the administration, with the principal to come up with the game plan for construction, finalize the design, and then put it out to bid to the subcontractor market. And the construction manager and agent would be a similar timing as the CMR. They would get on board pretty quickly, provide their feedback prior to putting out to bid to the subcontractors. So the next, we'll go to the next slide. Cost certainty and control. So this is, once we start the project and you have a number, how certain is that going to be? You have more control, or the contractor has more control because they've provided a fixed number. They've sharpen their pencils, and they give you a fixed number for the contract. The construction manager at risk, there's more control because the construction manager at risk provides a guaranteed maximum price at that same time point. And then cost certainty and control of the construction manager as agent, they don't have, you don't have as much there because there's really no teeth. They don't have a guaranteed maximum price. They're just acting as an agent. And then when we talk about transparency, there's the least amount of transparency with a lump sum contract because you're taking the low bid. So they don't have to tell you how much the painting contract was or who, you know, all this. They're telling you, we're gonna do this project for $3 million and that's it. With a construction manager at risk, you do have more transparency because as they take bids, we require that they show us all the bids, and we are part of that process in the buyout, so we can see that, all that information. And then the construction manager's agent's the most transparent because the owner, we are taking the bids. We're taking those and part of the process and selecting the subcontractors. So then on the procurement side and selection criteria, so all three would have a competitive process. So this isn't something where you just pick somebody. There would be a competitive process for all three approaches. With lump sum, it's the lowest bid. It's, we get a sealed envelope. Here's the price, and unless there's a big failure or an issue, we take the lowest bid. For construction management at risk, we ask for qualifications and a financial portion. And I'll walk through that at the end here, what that could look like. So it's qualifications and fee. So the one thing you can do is you can interview and talk to the staff who's going to be working on your project and get comfortable with the superintendent and the person who's going to be at the school. Again, with the lump sum bid, you're taking whoever had the lowest number and whatever staff they put on the project. With both CMR and CMA, you do have some say in who the people are who are going to be on the project. Conflict potential with the construction firm. Lump sum, it's higher. There's a higher potential conflict because the contractor's taking a greater amount of risk. Their number one priority is to protect their financial bottom line. And you know, it's nothing wrong with that. That's what they're in the business to do. But you know, to protect that, there's a higher risk of conflict. It's a little lower with CM at risk because they do have a fixed fee contract. So they are at risk, and there's a guaranteed maximum price. You know, occasionally there are some conflicts that come up as they're protecting that. And CMA is the lowest because, again, they're not at risk. So there's not as much potential for conflict. So when we look at the three options, the recommended types of projects, usually for a lump sum project, those would be straightforward projects with clearly defined scope and a complete design. So the projects that we've done so far that have been bid like that were, you know, a roof. We know exactly what the scope is, and it's clearly defined. We have a good design. Construction manager at risk is those are usually more complex projects where the construction manager's expertise and early involvement adds value to the project. So they can come in and provide some value early on. And then a construction manager agent is typically owners with substantial construction expertise who want direct controls of the project. So those are kind of the three big areas. I was looking up, we typically in the Council Bluffs and Omaha metro area, we see, if I had to rank like volume of projects, we see CMR as probably the highest volume, lump sum next, and then CMA after that as far as how many. And we're doing another bond program management for Westside, and we've used both lump sum and CMR. We've had 2 lump sum bids. One was a bathroom renovation in the high school, and that went great. We got a low number that came in under budget. The contractor we'd never heard of before, but they were kind of a diamond in the rough and did a great job. We bid another project, got a low number, and it's been a challenging experience. So we're kind of 50-50 right now there. On the CMR, we've with a lot of the renovation and new schools, that's the approach we've taken. And those projects have gone well. We're wrapping up a elementary school right now that was supposed to be completed in December of this year, and the students moving in January. And we got our certificate of occupancy 2 weeks ago, and they're moving in October. So there's ways working together that you can improve that. The other thing I'll just say as well, when we look at a project, like I said early when I started, what we're buying is for them to take the risk. And when we're talking about the value of a dollar value or a percentage of a project, I looked up a middle school renovation project we just wrapped up this summer. The total construction value was $4.7 million. And out of that, 88% of the project was what I call cost of work. So that was all subcontractors, was 88%. We had 41 subcontractors on it. This was a renovation project. The construction manager at risk, their portion of it was 12%. And that was their bond, performance and payment bond, their insurance, their people, their supervision, and their fee. All that added up to 12%. So as we talk about what we would commit to before having the final numbers, we would be committing to about 12% of the value of the project through that first procurement process. But it is, whatever you decide to move forward with, we can run a very competitive process, and you'll get good value with any of these approaches. The good thing is we're working on, right now we're in this, again, in the metro area, over $250 million worth of projects, 8 different architects, 15 contractors. So we know where the market is for the fees and all those markups. So that's something where we can help make sure that if you choose either of the construction management approaches, help you make sure that you're getting the best buy for those services. Or if we go lump sum, it's we go out to bid and we see what the market comes back with.
So just to ask a question, so you said 12%, so if we had a project that was 9 million, we'd be adding roughly a little over $1 million?
No, if you wanted to say you had a $9 million project, 88% of that 9 million would be direct cost.
Okay.
And 12% of that 9 million, you're gonna pay that.
Okay, so the 9 million stays 9 million, we're not,
Yes. You're not adding to it, it's just, I wanted to give you an idea, so with 9 million, now you're talking, oh gosh, make me do math quickly. So let's say 10 million, now you're talking 1.2 million is going, either way, you'd pay that. That's what the typical fee and supervision and insurance and bonding would be, even with a hard bid. Now with a hard bid, they might sharpen their pencils a little bit and go in with a lower fee or get a little more competitive, but it's really still, that 12% is gonna be.
But the risk
Pretty
that I found in doing projects both ways, it did CMA, not CMR. CMR is relatively new to Iowa. That's just in the last 5-6 years. CMA has been around, used to only have CMA or design bid build, so I've done those two projects. One of the things I did find was that by having a CMA, we had a lot less change orders than we did by having a design bid build, because we had a contractor there the whole time going through it, and just contractors look at things differently than architects do, and so the design bid build, we had a lot of change orders. So you might get the best, the initial bid might be the best, it might be really low, but what you can't control are the change orders, and you're gonna have, with as many unknowns as there is in the middle school, that's what I worry about, is having 1 billion change orders, and then that's just on top. So you might think, oh wow, we're, our budget's 7.5 million and we're in for 5, but who knows what happens when they start digging up, because the architects only know as much as they know, based on plans and drawings and those types of things. If you get somebody on board earlier with a construction company, either CMA or CMR, they can come in and they can do some of the pre-demo work that's included within their fee, so that's with a project as complex as this, that's where I would advise the board to look more at as one of the two other models there. Now, I did talk this through, and if construction manager at risk, they still have a maximum, price that you agree on when they go in, right? Like, they will still be, we're gonna get this done at 7.5 million. So if there's money under that that you're saving, the bids come in relatively low, cause they still own all the bids, then that's still their money, you know?
Actually,
Oh, that's not,
no,
okay.
no, the way we write the contracts is the savings come back to the owner.
Okay.
So that is an
Okay.
advantage to CMR.
Okay, that's good then,
So-
okay.
So that's where it is collaborative, where, you know, and they are working in the best interest of the owner to make sure that, and so that is a difference with CMR and lump sum is, and they kind of build that into their fee. It's part of why they like to, they would carry a contingency, is some of that unknown, there's still gonna be unknowns.
Right, for sure.
And so
yeah.
they wanna make sure that that's.
That makes more
but
sense.
If they don't spend it, we would get that back.
Well, that's good then.
Yeah.
So, that's the CMR is the one that I'm not as familiar with, so.
One is a CMA. Does that mean the district has to hire somebody to man these projects all the time?
Well, that's what the CMA does, is they would, for the middle school, they would provide a superintendent, and they would provide a project manager and do the project management. They just don't hold the contracts.
They would do all the supervisory stuff. So you would see, whereas these guys have been really active in these smaller projects because we don't have need for a construction guy here all the time, so they've been more active. You'll see them take more of a step back in the day-to-day functions. You won't see Brett here every day, and you'll see somebody, an actual, not that Brett's not an actual, construction guy, but you would see the actual construction guy take over those day-to-day, and then these guys are more as like as an advisory for us, you know, so.
Yeah, and actually, that's a good analogy, where the summer, when everything was going, you know, Brett was here.
There was no general contract.
Right. He was here every day,
Right.
you know, 8-10 hours a day. Yeah. Where, yeah, with any of these, our time pulls back a little bit to where it's more a supervision advisory. We would,
Consulted,
yeah, we would go to the weekly meetings, do an inspection, you know, a weekly inspection, and review all the pay apps and everything, but not directly manage the work as closely as what we did the last summer for the middle school.
Well, knowing what we have, what we're facing, yeah, it's gonna be a really complex deal. Would you lean one way or another?
I would lean towards the CMR, because I do think it does provide, everyone's got a little more skin in the game.
A little more leadership on one side, but yet a little less risk on our
Yeah,
end.
on your
It's
side.
kind of a 50-50 give and take.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I was kind of, thank you.
The CMA one with the chart, it did make me concerned when there was pretty much all the riskiest areas, it was on us as a school. I don't know about you, but I always want to try to play it as safe as possible, of course, especially this big of a project. You could really have a hand fast and all of a sudden we're in a world of hurt. I think the CMR is like
Well,
the best
and-
of the world.
And I think
That was
this,
one of the two.
and I think the CMA one, I think you'd better know what the heck you're talking about.
Well, that's what, when they
On-
said that, like, they.
On
typically
all
works well
different
with that.
scopes, whether it's
Yeah.
electrical or plumbing or, elevators, you know, they said the school's on 17 different levels. I mean, holy mackerel. If you're an inch off, you're in trouble.
And just to give you an idea, we are currently in the process, we have an RFQ out for CMRs right now, on a elementary school. And we had a kickoff meeting, and, you know, for the companies to show up and ask questions. We had 13 companies show up to the pre-proposal meeting. So I think it's a good buying market right now. And I think you'll get some good competitive proposals.
And just to confirm, because I'm gonna go off the design, or the DBB if they're very under their bid and stuff, then all of a sudden we're 1.5 million in the green. We could then apply it to something else. You're saying no with CMR, if for some reason we are still $1 million under, after all, we get all the bids.
You get the same, yep,
We still get
the savings.
Yeah, that was a turning thing for me, hearing that, because my assumption was we just agreed to an amount, and then if there was anything left over, that was kind of an incentive.
Yeah. And sometimes, you know, and once we get into talking about the contracts, there are contract agreements that we would build in a shared savings. So maybe the owner gets 80%, the CM gets 20, but so far, with the schools, we've all dealt with, the owner gets all the savings, just to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money.
Yeah, so in Iowa, the CMR is still required to publicly bid out all trade contracts to subcontractors, with contracts awarded the lowest responsible bidder. So that process is the same as far as, so what we did when like, it'd be the same thing when I did CMA. So they came up between the design, between the architects and the construction manager, they came up with, like, I think we had 7 different areas. You know, you had like general trades, you had plumbing and electrical, what do you call that? Like concrete, but they call it something else, grounds and something, I forget what it.
Site work?
Yeah, site work. And then they bid them, and then we did public facing bids for all of that. So, so that still would be required.
The CMR, since they're working an extension of the school district, would they also be able to use, you know how we have state vendors that if they're within a certain list, they can use without having to bid out certain contracts, or is that only limited to the district?
Well, no, they could. Usually how they design these though, like when you do that, that's for very specific like products. And
Okay,
for this particular work, they'll probably lump it into like categories they'll be, you know, you might have, you know, plumbing and electrical could potentially be the same subcontractor. So you get a company that comes in and they're gonna use, so the subcontractors are gonna use their own subcontractors, you know, so. But, yeah, it's a little bit more, it's not quite as fine detailed as that, but if we found something that we wanted them to, they could.
okay.
Because we would still, I mean, they would own the contract, but they're doing the work on behalf of the school.
And we would have some flexibility. Brett and I were talking about the lighting upgrades that we've done at the other schools. You know, maybe with the middle school, we work out a deal and have Voss provide the fixtures, and we bid it out as part of the electrical package, where the install of those fixtures is by the electrician who's doing all this other stuff. But we already have a deal set up with Voss to buy them directly. So there are some opportunities to maybe capitalize on some of those items.
And that item is talked about since the brainstorming we're having, you know, like I just said, craft and the type, you know, we did in the summer, high school, we're getting involved a little bit. Since we have other work going on in the middle school, it doesn't make any sense to like install the lights and then a couple months later, we go in the room and tear the ceiling down to replace the heat pump and you have to take your lights apart. So we're trying to figure out how to merge those two projects together.
Yep. I'd say I'm leaning more towards CMR now. I don't know how anybody else feels. Yep.
So would we still be approving the subcontractors? With the 3 bids, they just take the lowest one, and are you vetting them? Are
Yeah,
you-
yeah, so we, we're not signing off on each one, but we meet with them and have a detailed review. It's like an all-day review where we go through
Right.
every scope of work and we assure that they get, you know, they got a good number of bids, they got competitive bids, they're going with the lowest bid. Because, you know, sometimes there's all kind of games that can be played.
Right.
We make sure, and that's where, when I had the transparency in there. So in that case, you know, we require transparency so that we can make sure that for all those scopes, they're going through the process and selecting the correct
Because I know we've had low bids before, but they've never done that large of a project
Mhm.
or anything, and so that's what I was wondering if that's all vetted and.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
So who ends up selecting the construction manager?
You guys
We
will.
do?
Yep.
So who's going to present candidates, I guess?
Well, what I would recommend is, and this is a process we can work with you guys on, is put out a request for qualifications. And I'd say we open that up to the whole market. Like I said, we had 13 interested in an elementary school. And then typically there's a put together committee, of a selection committee, get the statement of qualifications from all the firms, shortlist it to however many we want to interview. Could be as many as 3 to 5 maybe.
Okay.
Yep.
We have a facilities.
Yeah, it's the
lots
same
of other
process we've done
facilities.
for our architects,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
and for you guys too, I mean, that's how we selected, is we'll just put out requests for proposal, requests for qualifications, they'll submit them. The facility committee, which is, Director Sheffel, Director Adkins, and, Director Sturm. So we would review them with project advocates, select probably a final 3, and then request those 3 to come in for an interview with the board, and then the board would select one.
And what will help you with the fee, because a lot of times it's important how you ask for fee and the breakdown, so we'll help you with that just to make sure you're getting a
Yeah.
fair comparison.
And so the CMR in Iowa is, and I'm just reading this off their guidance, is, so it's a lot like selecting an architect where we can't use, there's no simply the lowest bid. Like, we can't say like, we're gonna select somebody based simply on the lowest bid, but we can request that they submit their fee with us, and then we, have that as part of the consideration when we consider the rest of their experience, So that's one of the things I would recommend, and that prevents somebody who's never been a CMR before from coming in and throwing in a really low bid and then trying to tackle the project, so.
Well, wouldn't we just list the requirements for experience to match the project itself? They need to have experience with
Right.
electrical, or
But we
maybe
would
not electrical, but
But we'd still
You know
put
what I
in,
mean.
like they said, like to get some idea of what their,
what their fee schedule
yeah,
would be.
yeah. But I think everybody here can agree that sometimes lowest price doesn't always mean best quality, so making sure that the fee's in line with the appropriate experience and the qualifications, and then picking somebody that can help execute, so.
Right. And this isn't a new project, it's renovation, so
Correct.
someone that has experience with that.
That would be important.
With the 15th level building.
Yeah, 17.
Or 17.
17.
Well, in a functioning, occupied school, it's,
Well, and like what was said, change orders get so far out of hand
yeah.
so fast. I mean, yeah, you could eat up a couple $1 million really easily
Especially with as
in
many
change orders.
unknowns.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well, and we have had that when they were doing Titan Hill, the addition, there was a beam that was never connected at the front. It was never it was not.
like hovering.
oh,
Yeah.
oh, no kidding.
And so then that was a change order because we had to make sure that was stable and connected and,
and the Native American burial ground.
that was before.
Oh, that was way back, okay.
When
They-
they first built the building.
Oh.
Yeah, they just said if they ever find any bones, they're kind of report it. No, I'm kidding. It was a delay. I think it was a couple months delay.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
But no, I think I agree with you guys. The CMR seems like the most effective way to get it done, but yet still be as effective as what we can be with all the unknowns.
And hopefully we can
We're
find somebody
facing.
local to cut down on any travel costs, things
Right.
like that.
well, again,
Oh, go ahead, jump in.
there's a in this market, there's a lot of,
Yeah.
there will be a lot of capable companies that will want to compete for this.
And that wasn't done with the auditorium or the bus barn.
Those are design bid build.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I think that was, I think that's, it's good. We learned from that, yes, definitely.
There's a reason that the majority of schools in Omaha have done CMR for a long time. So before we had the capability to do it over here in Iowa, so.
One of the most important people on the project is going to be the superintendent, the day-to-day person. And with this process, you meet that person. And that's a part of the selection criteria, is what company has the team that you're most comfortable with being in the school and doing that work.
Okay. I think we're good.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on that point? Okay, we will move on to 7.05, allowable growth supplemental special ed aid request.
So 98% of the schools across the state of Iowa run a special education deficit. That's just simply because between the federal government and the state government, they have a lot of requirements for how we serve students that have individual education plans, but they don't provide the funding to be able to serve them. So you might have, like, a great example is you might have a student that we receive $37,000 for in funding from the state and federal government, but we, have them attend for their own personal needs, have them attend a therapeutic school or Children's Square or Apex that you guys just approved, and down there they have a one-on-one para, they have maybe a one-on-one nurse, and they have, and so their costs could be $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, and the state and federal government don't care. They'll say, no, you have to provide those services, but we're still only providing you the standard, $37,000 that particular student with a level of need would get. And so that leaves us with a deficit every year. You guys, I shouldn't say you guys, Lewis Central for a long time didn't run a deficit because they were covering the deficit out of their general fund, which is why our general fund was then so low. So, but they do provide a mechanism for schools to basically apply back to the state for funding that is left over through this process, and then whatever money there's left over at the end of that then kind of gets rolled into our tax base. So again, it would affect the tax base very minimally from what it always usually is, but again, we don't have a choice. State and federal law says we have to serve students at the level at which they need to be served, and they just don't want to give us the money to do it. So, but I'll tell you, I've seen some incredible things happen at these schools when our students have an opportunity to attend. So, but.
Any other discussion? Okay, we'll move on to 7.06, resolution to consider continued participation in the instructional support program.
So this is a levy that we currently have, and it expires next summer. The levy provides us just under $2 million for straight instructional support, so it's only spent on students and teachers in the classrooms. So the school has had this levy for forever, and so the board, in order to just renew the levy, just needs to have a vote. The vote will be next time. There needs to be a board hearing and a vote, and then you guys would vote to renew or not renew the levy for a period of 5 years at a time. But again, it's a levy we already have. We won't raise taxes. Just continues that levy that we've had for 30 years. So
And it only goes to classrooms?
only goes to classrooms and teacher pay. Yep. Instructional support uses. Can you think of anything else, Mrs. Reyes, that
We use majority of ours on curriculum and teachers.
yep.
Any other discussion? Okay, we'll go to 7.07, laser cutter purchase.
So the applied sciences, so the CTE teachers, they applied for a variety of different funding from Perkins and RPP funds. and so they received the money to buy a laser cutter, and so we just need to approve the purchase. What a laser cutter does, I don't know.
You can use it to cut sheet metal.
Oh, sheet metal, there we go.
Well, I don't know if that's what they're using it for, but
Yeah.
typically.
I think it's gotta be metal. I think it, yeah.
Well, it could be more like a laser engraver.
Yeah, you could use
So
it
you
as that
could use
too.
it in the plastics lab, maybe? I don't know.
It's a high school, they don't have plastics, but
It
they have
is.
that, I think it
Oh,
probably
yeah.
has to do with that new welding lab, is what they have. It kinda,
I
once they say
wonder
the
if a
word
laser-
grant, once they say the word grant money, I'm like, okay, yeah, you guys are good.
Wonder if laser is kind of the new plasma, maybe. That could be.
Yeah. I heard lasers and grant, and I was like, yes, sweet.
All right, 7.08, educational lane advancement.
So we have two. So according to the master contract, in order for teachers to advance in an educational lane, which means that they've met one of the criteria, so they might have gotten 15 years credit above their bachelor's towards a master's, or they might have gotten their master's, or maybe they got their master's and additional 15 credits. So as they proceed with their education, getting more credits, they're allowed to apply for almost like an additional stipend that goes onto their check in the form of a lane, okay, is what it's called, lane advancement. So in order to advance, you need to do two things. One, you need to provide us an intent, according to the master contract, you need to provide us an intent to advance, which basically allows us to budget for the advancement. So that's due by April 1st of every spring. And then in the fall, we ask you by August 15th to provide us your transcripts, okay? If one of those two components are not met, then they technically didn't comply with master contract, and then I bring it to you guys for consideration, okay? So last year you guys didn't see anything because we switched systems from a paper system or like an email system to we actually put it into our new HR system, so they would have to fill out a form online. So we had a couple people that missed the deadline last year, but we just went ahead and said, okay, it's a new system, we'll kind of let it go this year. The first person up here, Ms. Jones, she didn't miss the deadline for submitting her information. She didn't get her transcripts until August 18th. So the 15th on a Friday, she didn't have them in time, so she got them on the 15th, which is that Monday, and she submitted them as soon as she got them. So my recommendation would be to approve Ms. Jones because she did submit her intent online. For me, that's the biggest one. Like, you just gotta, I mean, we can play on the back end, but the front end, we need to make sure that we're at least budgeted for it. So that's kind of where we sit with Ms. Jones. Mrs. Jones.
Okay, so you want me to go to 7.09?
Yep.
Okay. Educational lane advancement for Ms. Arnett.
Yep, so Ms. Arnett, this is a little bit different because she did not submit it on time. She submitted it as of August 6th. So again, due on April 1st, submitted August 6th. Did have her transcripts by the deadline, but obviously didn't submit it back in April when it was due. So that makes it, obviously we can't budget for it. But again, because we brought one, we have to bring both to you guys to consider. So my recommendation would be to approve Ms. Jones and not approve Mrs. Arnett because simply we weren't able to budget for it. It's pretty clear cut in the master contract that you're submitted by April 1st, so that way we are able to budget for it. We were not able to budget for this. We were able to budget for Mrs. Jones, so the fact that she was a day late with submitting her documentation, at least we were budgeted for it. So
would she just reapply next year, or how, like,
Yep.
would this just go into, okay?
Yep, so she could reapply next year, and then she'll, as long as she gets her paperwork on time, she's already has the work done, she would just advance at that time.
Yeah, I
And-
think we have to stay firm with missing the intent, because if we start letting people, then that there's no intention date, and therefore we have to consider every single person at every time of year. So I think holding true to that, the intent to want to go based on the master contract is really important.
That's it. It is spelled out really clear.
Extremely clear. Yep, that's actually the language up top, so.
It would get messy if we.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we will move on to the second portion of our meeting where we open the floor to the public. So comments and suggestions.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, Jeremy Bach. How are you guys? Just a quick question on the consortium agreement that you brought up for Apex. So if I'm correct, it's stating that in order to attend a different institution to get credits, you have to have the agreement in place, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and with the deadline for the approval, when would that go into actually place? Because Iowa doesn't have a deadline. So the institution itself would have to have an addendum or an agreement deadline for the consortium. So does Apex have one?
We've had an agreement, we've been in the consortium for, I think, a very long time. So-
With Apex?
Yes.
Okay,
correct.
so this is just a continuation?
This is continuation.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's helpful. Okay,
Yeah, yep.
perfect. That's what I needed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Do we have any comments and suggestions? Okay, nobody online, all right. Then we will move forward to action items. So 9.01, SWIAC Apex Consortium Agreement.
Mr. President, I'd
Yes.
like to make a motion to approve the SWIAC Apex Consortium Agreement as presented.
Second.
Vote, please.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. 9.02, Board Policy Series 300, Administration, second reading.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the review and changes to Board Policy 300 series as presented.
Vote, please.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. 9.03, 2026 Summer High School HVAC Mechanical Controls.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the summer high school HVAC mechanical controls for next year, 2026, to optimized systems for $60,370.
Second.
Vote, please.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. 9.04, Middle School Renovation Construction Delivery Method.
Mr.
Yes.
Oh,
You're on red?
yeah, Mr. President?
Yes.
I'd like to make the motion to approve the CMR as presented in the meeting. Did I say that right?
Second. Yes. CSR.
Or
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, moving forward with the
Yes.
CMR. Yeah.
Moving forward with the CMR, yeah.
Vote,
Second.
please.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. 9.05, Allowable Growth Supplemental Special Ed Aid Request.
Mr. President, I'd like
Yes.
to make a motion to approve the Special Education Supplement, SES, with the amount of allowable growth request of $865,192.86 for fiscal year 2024, 2025.
Second.
Vote, please.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. 9.06, Resolution to consider continued participation in the Instructional Support Program.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to make the motion to introduce the resolution to consider continued participation in the instructional support program and move its adoption.
Second.
Vote, please.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Rick?
Yes. 9.07, laser cutter purchase.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of the laser cutter from Prism Sales in the amount of $20,745.
Second.
Vote, please.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes.
Mr. Rick?
Yes. 9.08, educational lane advancement, Ms. Jones.
Mr. President, I'd like to make the motion to approve the educational lane move and salary increase of $2,000 for Ms. Jones for the 2025-2026 contract year.
Second.
Vote, please.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Rick?
Yes. 9.09, educational lane advancement, Ms. Arnett.
Mr. President, I'd like to
Yes.
make the motion to deny the educational lane move and salary increase of $2,000 for Ms. Arnett for the 2025-2026 contract year.
Second.
Vote, please.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Mr. Rick?
Yes. Items of interest, future board meeting. The next scheduled regular board meeting is October 6th at 6:30. Do we have anything in between?
Nope, nothing.
Okay. With no other business on the dock, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.